I'm Shelby Walsh, 28 years old. Last Mother's Day, my father sent me a bill for $500,000. The subject line read, "The cost of raising a disappointment." He didn't just send it to me. He CC'd every single person in our family group chat. All 50 relatives, aunts, uncles, cousins, in-laws from Sacramento to Seattle. Everyone got it at the exact same moment during the family gathering he insisted we all attend. He thought I'd break. He thought I'd apologize, cry, shrink the way I always had when he tore me down in front of people. He thought the room would nod in agreement that they'd finally see me the way he wanted them to see me, the failure, the burdened child who never measured up. But I didn't cry. I didn't apologize. I opened my phone, selected the entire family list, the same 50 people, and replied with one single photo. By the next evening, 49 of them had blocked him. They left the group chat, unfollowed him, stopped answering his calls. The family that once rallied around his every word turned their backs in less than 24 hours. The 50th person, that was Grandma. She didn't block him. She did something far worse. I live in a one-bedroom apartment in Sacramento. Nothing fancy, about 600 square feet rent paid from my own paycheck every month since I was 22. I work as a financial planner. Numbers are clean. They don't lie, don't play favorites, don't pretend to love you one day and punish you the next. People, especially my family, are a different story. My older brother Connor, 3 years ahead of me, just closed on a 5-bedroom house in Roseville. Dad handed him the down payment, $200,000, wrapped in a speech about pride and legacy. I found out through a family photo Connor posted online. When I got promoted last year, Dad sent a one-word text, "Okay." I stopped waiting for anything different a long time ago. But that Mother's Day gathering at Grandma's house in Folsom wasn't just another holiday. Dad had been planning it for weeks. He called it a special celebration. He made sure everyone knew it was mandatory. He wanted an audience, and he got one. 50 people watched him stand up, raise his glass, and announce that he had prepared something important. Something to show exactly what raising me had cost him. Phones started buzzing, one after another. Notifications hitting every device in the room like gunfire. He read the line items out loud. Hospital birth, $12,000. Childhood clothes, $18,000. Private tutoring, $22,000. College expenses, he claimed I wasted $95,000. And on until the total reached $500,000. He even had it framed. He hung the printed bill on the wall next to the family portrait. A permanent reminder, he said, of what disappointment looks like in dollars. The room waited. They waited for me to crumble. They waited for the apology that always came before. Instead, I looked straight at him and said one sentence. "Since we're doing numbers today, Dad, I have a few of my own." I pressed send. And everything changed. If you've ever felt like the family disappointment, like no matter what you do, it's never enough, drop a like right now, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because this story is about to show you exactly what happens when the person who hurt you the most finally gets the receipts and the consequences. You're not alone in this. Stick around. Back in my small apartment in Sacramento, everything feels calmer than it used to. I wake up at 6 every morning, make coffee in the tiny kitchen that barely fits 2 people, and sit at the same folding table where I track my clients' portfolios. The rent is $1,800 a month, my name on the lease, my bank account paying it, no cosigner, no help from anyone. I've been doing this since I graduated from Sacramento State 6 years ago with a degree in finance. Magna cum laude. Dean's List every semester. I thought that would matter. It didn't. Connor graduated from UC Davis with a business degree 2 years before me. Dad threw him a backyard party at the old house in Elk Grove, catered barbecue, string lights, a rented photo booth. Relatives flew in from Oregon and Nevada. Dad gave a toast, "To my son, the future of this family." Connor posted the whole thing on Instagram. I liked the post. That's what you do. When I walked across the stage, Dad sent a text 3 days later. Congrats. No photo, no exclamation point, no mention of the honors. Mom added a heart emoji. That was it. Connor got his first job at a real estate firm in Roseville right out of college. Dad co-signed the lease on his first apartment, then helped with the security deposit. 2 years later, when Connor wanted to buy that 5-bedroom house in Roseville, 4,000 square feet backyard, with a pool, Dad wrote a check for the entire down payment. $200,000. No questions asked. Connor called it a family investment. Dad called it what a father does for his son. I never got that conversation. I paid for my own textbooks, my own car insurance, my own everything. When I needed a used Honda to get to my internship, I saved for 6 months from a part-time job at a coffee shop. Dad said, "You should have asked for help." I didn't. I knew what help looked like in our family. It came with strings, comparisons, reminders of how much I owed. Growing up, the pattern was clear early. Connor's report cards came home with A's and B's. He got ice cream and praise. Mine had mostly A's with one B. He asked why I couldn't be more consistent. Connor played soccer. Dad went to every game, cheered from the sidelines. I ran track. Dad said he had work. Connor's prom photos got framed in the living room. Mine stayed on my phone. High school graduation, Connor got a new laptop and a trip to Hawaii with friends. I got a card with $50 and a lecture about choosing a practical major. College, Connor's tuition was covered by a trust grandpa set up. Mine was too, until it wasn't. Dad said the fund ran low because of unexpected costs. I took out loans, $48,000 by the time I finished. I'm still paying them off at $400 a month. Dad never offered to help with that either. The comparisons never stopped. At family dinners, Dad would say, "Connor closed another deal today, 6 figures." Then he'd look at me. "How's that client list coming along?" Like my job helping middle-class families plan for retirement was somehow less, like my promotions were expected, not earned. Jordan noticed it first. We've been together for almost 2 years. He works in IT for a state agency downtown. Steady calm, the opposite of chaos. One night after a family barbecue where Dad spent 30 minutes praising Connor's new boat, while I sat quietly, Jordan asked me why I still went. "Because they're family," I said. He looked at me for a long time. "Family doesn't keep score like that." I didn't have an answer, but I started keeping my own records. 3 years ago, I opened a secure folder on my laptop labeled Records. Inside, screenshots of bank statements, emails from the trust administrator, tax forms. Dad filed credit reports that showed accounts I never opened. I told myself it was just in case. Insurance. I never planned to use it. Then Dad announced the Mother's Day gathering at Grandma's place in Folsom. 50 people. Mandatory. "It's time we all come together," he said in the group chat. "I have something important to share." Something in his tone felt different, planned, deliberate. I stared at the message for a long time. Jordan was cooking pasta when I showed him. He set the spoon down. "You don't have to go." "I know," I said, "but I think I do." He nodded. "Then go prepared." I opened the folder that night. The files were still there. Clean, organized, ready. I didn't know then that Dad was about to hand me the perfect opening, but when he did, I was ready to balance the books. A few weeks before Mother's Day, the group chat lit up with Dad's message. "Family reunion at Mom's house in Folsom. Mother's Day weekend. Everyone's expected. No excuses. I have an announcement that concerns all of us. Be there." 50 reactions poured in almost immediately. Hearts, thumbs up, can't wait from cousins I barely speak to. Connor replied first. "I'll be there early with the wine. Looking forward to it, Dad." Dad hearted it instantly. I stared at the screen for a full minute before typing anything. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. In the end, I sent, "I'll be there." Short, Neutral. No emojis. Jordan was on the couch scrolling through his phone when I set mine down. "What's the announcement about?" he asked without looking up. "I don't know," I said, but he made it sound big. Mandatory big. Jordan glanced over. "You think it's about you?" "Probably." I shrugged, but my stomach tightened. Dad didn't do announcements unless he wanted an audience for something he thought would make him look good or make someone else look small. The next few days felt heavier than usual. I kept replaying old conversations in my head. The time Dad told me my promotion was nice, but Connor's closing deals twice that size. The Christmas where Connor got a new watch and I got a gift card to a store I never shopped at. The way Dad always introduced Connor as "my son the real estate guy," while I was "Shelby, she works with numbers." I started checking the folder more often. Not obsessively, just once or twice a day. The files hadn't changed screenshots of the education trust statements showing withdrawals I never authorized, tax returns where I was listed as a dependent years after I moved out, credit reports with inquiries and accounts that weren't mine. I had even pulled the delivery confirmations for packages sent to Connor's old address, stuff I never ordered. I told myself it was preparation, not paranoia. One evening after work, Jordan came over with takeout from the Thai place down the street. We ate on the balcony overlooking the parking lot. The air was warm for early May. He asked about the reunion again. "You really think it's going to be bad?" he said. "I think Dad wants to make a point," I answered. "He's been dropping hints in the chat. Time to set the record straight. Some things need to be said out loud." Jordan set his fork down. "Then why go?" "Because if I don't, he'll say I ran away. That I'm avoiding responsibility. That I'm the problem." He reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "You're not the problem. You've never been the problem." I wanted to believe him. Part of me did. But the other part, the part that grew up under Dad's measuring stick, kept whispering that maybe I was. The weekend before the gathering, Connor called me. His voice was casual, like we talked every day. "Hey sis, you bringing anything for the potluck?" "Probably salad," I said. "Like always." "Cool, I'm doing the steaks. Dad's grilling. Mom's handling desserts." There was a pause. Then he added, "Dad's really excited about this one. Says it's going to be memorable." "Memorable how?" He laughed. "You'll see. Just don't be late." I hung up and opened the folder again. This time I exported everything to a secure email draft. Subject line blank. Attachments ready. Just in case. Jordan watched me from the doorway. "You're actually doing it?" "I'm not doing anything yet," I said. "I'm just ready." He nodded. "Good. Whatever happens in Folsom, you walk out of there with your head up." I closed the laptop. I plan to. The night before I left for Grandma's, I packed light, one overnight bag, my laptop, phone charger. I stood in front of the mirror for a long time, looking at the woman staring back. 28 years old. Debt almost paid off. Career on track. Apartment in my name. A boyfriend who showed up when it mattered. And still part of me felt like the 16-year-old girl waiting for Dad to notice her report card. I turned off the light and went to bed. The drive to Folsom the next morning was calm. Highway 50 stretched ahead, the American River glinting on the right. I kept the radio low. No music, just the sound of tires on pavement and my own breathing. Grandma's house came into view around 7, the big 2-story with the wide porch and the oak trees out front. Same as always. I pulled into the driveway, turned off the engine, and sat there for a minute. Then I grabbed my bag and walked up the steps. The door was unlocked. Grandma was already in the kitchen, apron on, stirring something on the stove. She looked up when I came in. "Morning, Shelby." "Morning, Grandma." She didn't ask why I was early. She just handed me a cutting board and a knife. "Start on the vegetables. We've got a lot of mouths to feed." I rolled up my sleeves and got to work. The house smelled like coffee and cinnamon. Sunlight came through the windows in long slants. For a moment, everything felt normal. But I knew it wasn't. Dad would arrive soon. Connor, too. 50 people would fill this house. And Dad had something to say. I kept chopping carrots, steady rhythm eyes on the knife. Whatever came next, I had the folder. And for the first time, I wasn't afraid to open it. The morning of Mother's Day arrived clear and bright. I was already in the kitchen when the first cars started pulling up the driveway. Grandma and I had the coffee brewing trays of muffins cooling on the counter and the long dining table set with 50 place settings. Plates, stacked napkins, folded silverware aligned. I moved through the routine like muscle memory chopping fruit for the salad, arranging flowers in vases, wiping down surfaces that didn't need wiping. Anything to keep my hands busy. Grandma watched me from the stove. "You okay, Shelby?" I nodded. "Just making sure everything's ready." She didn't push. She never did. That's one of the things I always liked about her. By 10 o'clock, the house was filling up. Cousins with kids running through the living room, aunts carrying casserole dishes, uncles shaking hands on the porch. Laughter bounced off the walls. Someone turned on music, soft jazz from a speaker in the corner. It felt like every other family gathering. Almost. Connor arrived around 11 with 2 bottles of red wine and a grin. He hugged Grandma first, then spotted me. "Hey, sis, smells good in here." "Thanks," I said. "You need help with anything?" "Nah, I'm good. Dad's bringing the grill stuff. He's right behind me." Dad pulled in minutes later. Black SUV, polished new tires. He stepped out in khakis and a polo shirt, carrying a cooler and a framed picture wrapped in brown paper. He greeted everyone with handshakes and backslaps, voice loud enough to carry. "Great to see the whole family together. Been too long." Mom came in after him, arms full of bakery boxes. She kissed my cheek quickly. "Morning, honey." "Morning, Mom." We didn't say more. We never did on days like this. Lunch was served at 1. Roast beef, mashed potatoes, green beans, rolls. People lined up at the buffet table, plates piled high. Kids ate on the porch. Adults filled the dining room and spilled into the living room. Conversation flowed, work updates, vacation plans. He was expecting a baby. Dad waited until dessert was cleared. He stood at the head of the table, glass in hand. The room quieted almost instantly. He had that effect. "Before we get to the cake," he said, "I want to say a few words about motherhood, about family, about what it really costs to raise children right." Heads nodded, smiles, agreement. He set his glass down and reached into the cooler, pulled out a thick envelope and the framed picture. "I've been thinking a lot lately about sacrifices, about gratitude, about what happens when those things aren't returned." He opened the envelope, slid out a printed sheet, and held it up. "This," he said, "is for Shelby." The room shifted. Eyes turned to me. He cleared his throat and began reading. "Cost of raising a disappointment, $500,000. A murmur rippled through the crowd. He continued, voice steady, almost proud. "Birth and hospital, $15,000. Diapers and formula, first 3 years, $9,000. Clothing and shoes through high school, $24,000. Tutoring and summer programs, $32,000. First car and insurance, $18,000. College contributions that were wasted, $120,000. Ongoing support, nobody asked for the rest." He paused for effect. "Total $500,000, and that's conservative." Someone coughed. A child asked a question and was hushed. Dad held up the framed copy, gold frame, matted, printed in bold font. He walked to the fireplace mantel, moved the family portrait aside, and hung the bill in its place. "A reminder," he said, turning back to face me. "For all of us, what happens when you don't appreciate what you've been given?" The room went completely silent. 50 pairs of eyes on me. Some curious, some uncomfortable, some amused. They waited for the tears, the apology, the retreat. I felt the heat in my cheeks, the familiar knot in my stomach. but my hands were steady. I looked straight at him. "Since we're sharing costs today, Dad," I said, "I have a few expenses of my own to show." I pulled out my phone, opened the email draft I'd prepared weeks ago, selected all 50 contacts from the family list, the same list he'd used, attached the files, pressed send. Notifications started almost immediately, soft chimes filling the room one after another. Dad's smile faltered. "What did you just do?" "Balance the books," I said. He laughed once short and sharp. "This isn't the time for games, Shelby." "It's exactly the time." I waited while people opened their phones, watched faces change, confusion first, then recognition, then something harder. Aunt Linda was the first to speak. "Brian, what is this?" Dad's jaw tightened. "It's nothing, just old paperwork." I let the silence build. Then I started explaining. The education trust Grandpa set up for both kids. $110,000 each. Connor used his for school and graduated debt-free. Mine disappeared 3 weeks before my freshman year. Transferred to your personal account. Same week you bought that new truck. Murmurs grew louder. Then there are the tax returns. You claimed me as a dependent for 6 years after I moved out. Living alone, paying my own bills. That added up to about $40,000 in improper deductions. Dad's face reddened. "That's not." And the credit accounts opened in my name starting when I was 21. Maxed out. Statements sent to Connor's address. Designer clothes, electronics, a watch that looks a lot like the one you gave him for his birthday. Connor shifted in his seat. "Shelby, wait." I didn't. The room was alive now. Voices overlapping, chairs scraping, phones being passed around. Dad stepped forward. "This is private family business. Not for everyone to." "You made it public." I cut in. "You hung it on the wall." He reached for the frame, but Grandma's voice stopped him. "Leave it there, Brian." She had been sitting quietly at the far end of the table. Now she stood. All eyes turned to her. She looked at Dad the way only a mother can look at a son who's disappointed her. Then she looked at me. "Show them the rest, Shelby." I opened the last attachment. The one I'd saved for 3 years. A screenshot of a text Dad sent Connor 2 summers ago. "She's not mine biologically. Don't ever tell her. If it comes out, everything falls apart." The room froze. Dad's face drained of color. Mom stared at her plate. Connor looked at the floor. I met Dad's eyes. "You spent 28 years punishing me for something I didn't do," I said quietly. "Now everyone knows why." No one spoke. The frame on the mantel suddenly looked very small. I let the silence stretch for a moment, just long enough for the notifications to finish chiming. The room felt smaller now. 50 people holding phones, scrolling, rereading. The framed bill on the mantel suddenly looked ridiculous thin paper in a gold frame hanging next to the old family photo where everyone was smiling. Dad's face had gone pale. He took a step toward me. "Shelby, whatever this is, we can discuss it privately." "No," I said. "You chose public. So we're doing public." I held up my phone so the people closest could see the screen. First attachment, the education trust Grandpa and Grandma set up for both kids. $110,000 each. Connor used his for school and graduated debt-free. Mine was withdrawn in full 3 weeks before I started college. Transferred to your checking account, Dad. Same day you bought that new truck. Aunt Linda gasped. "Brian." Dad's mouth opened closed. "That was for family expenses. You needed—" "I needed loans." I interrupted. $48,000 in student debt. Still paying it off, while you drove a luxury vehicle. Murmurs spread like wildfire. Uncle Mark, who works in accounting, leaned forward. "Can I see the statement?" I forwarded the screenshot to him. He opened it on his tablet and projected it onto the wall with his phone. The transfer was clear, date, amount, account numbers. No mistake. Dad's voice rose. This is taken out of context. Second attachment. I continued. Tax returns from 2018 to 2024. You claimed me as a dependent every year. I was 22 in 2018, living alone in Sacramento, paying rent, utilities, insurance. No one was supporting me. Those improper claims gave you between $5,000 and $7,000 in refunds each year. Total approximately $42,000. Cousin Rachel, a lawyer in Oakland, spoke up. That's federal tax fraud, Brian. Dad's hands shook. I thought you agreed. I never agreed, I said. You never asked. Mom sat frozen eyes on the table. Connor looked at his phone, then at me. Shelby, this isn't third attachment, I said. Credit reports. 3 accounts opened in my name starting at 21. All maxed out. Total debt $63,000. I never applied for those cards. Never made those purchases. But the statements were mailed to your old address in Roseville, Connor. Connor's face drained. I didn't. Delivery confirmations show your signature on 2 of the packages. Designer bags, electronics, jewelry, 1 receipt for a watch, $9,000, the same model Dad gave you for your 30th birthday. The room exploded into whispers. Uncle George stood up. Brian, what the hell is this? Dad lunged for my phone. Delete that. All of you delete it. Grandma's voice cut through. Sit down, Brian. He froze. I wasn't finished. These weren't mistakes, I said. They were choices. You misused the trust to buy yourself a truck. You claimed tax benefits you weren't entitled to. You opened credit lines in my name and let Connor use the rewards. And you did it knowing I would never check. Because you made sure I believed I was the disappointment. Dad's shoulders slumped. Shelby, you spent 28 years telling everyone I was the problem, I said. That I was ungrateful. That I cost too much. But you never mentioned the cost of what you did to me. The room was dead quiet now. I looked around. Faces I had known my whole life, some shocked, some angry, some guilty. Aunt Linda spoke first. Brian, is this true? He didn't answer. Connor stood slowly. Shelby, I didn't know about the credit cards. Not at first. Dad said it was a loan for the family. He said you'd never find out. I met his eyes. A loan that lasted 4 years. Buying luxury items was a loan. He looked away. Mom finally spoke. Her voice was small. Brian. Why? Dad didn't look at her. He stared at the floor. I turned to the room. I didn't come here to destroy anything, I said. I came because Dad forced my hand. He wanted to humiliate me in front of all of you. He wanted me to apologize for existing. So I showed you the truth. I paused. There's one more thing. I opened the final attachment, the screenshot I'd carried for 3 years, a text from Dad to Connor dated 2 summers ago. She's not mine biologically. Don't ever tell her. If it comes out, everything falls apart. The room inhaled as one. Mom's hand flew to her mouth. Dad staggered back like he'd been hit. Connor stared at the screen, then at Dad. You told me, you said it was a mistake, that she wasn't supposed to know. Dad's voice cracked. I never meant. You meant to keep lying, I said quietly. You meant to punish me for something that wasn't my fault. Every time you looked at me, you saw your mistake. So you made me the disappointment, the burden, the one nobody would miss. Grandma rose from her chair. She walked to the mantel, took the framed bill down, and set it on the table in front of Dad. Take this with you, she said. Dad looked at her. Mom. Take it, she repeated, and leave my house. He stood there broken. No one moved to comfort him. I looked at Mom. Did you know? She didn't answer. Tears ran down her face. I looked at Connor. Did you? He shook his head. Not about that. I believed him. But it didn't change anything. The room began to fracture. People standing, gathering purses, heading for the door. Whispers turned to conversations. I can't believe this. Poor Shelby. Brian, how could you? I stayed where I was. Dad looked at me one last time. Shelby. Goodbye, Dad, I said. He walked out alone. The front door closed behind him. There's one more file I haven't shown yet. I opened it slowly, deliberately. The room was already holding its breath, but this one felt different. Heavier. Final. The screenshot loaded on every phone. A simple text message thread from Dad to Connor, timestamped 2 summers ago during a family camping trip none of us had attended together. Dad. She's not mine biologically. Don't ever tell her. If it comes out, the trust, the house, everything goes. Connor. You sure Mom never said anything? Dad. She was 17. One mistake. I raised her anyway. But if Richard finds out, no. If anyone finds out, it's over. The words hung in the air like smoke. Mom's hand covered her mouth. She made a small sound, almost inaudible. Dad stared at the screen as if it belonged to someone else. His face crumpled in slow motion, eyes, wide mouth, slack shoulders collapsing inward. Connor dropped his phone on the table. It clattered. Dad. You told me that night by the fire. You said it was a secret to protect her. You said, I said what I had to say, Dad whispered. To keep the family together. Grandma Gloria stood up fully now. Her voice was calm, but it carried across the room like a blade. You kept nothing together, Brian. You built a house of cards on lies. Dad looked at her. Mom, please. Don't mom me, she said. I suspected something years ago. The way you treated Shelby. The coldness. The constant comparisons. I thought it was favoritism. I never imagined this. Mom finally spoke. Her voice was thin, trembling. Brian, how long have you known? Dad didn't answer her. He couldn't look at her. I turned to Mom. You knew too, didn't you? You knew the whole time. Mom's eyes filled. She shook her head, but the motion was weak. I was scared. I was 17. I thought if I just pretended I was his, I finished. So you let him punish me for it? Every day, every holiday, every time he said I wasn't good enough. She started crying, real tears. No one moved to comfort her. Connor stood up. Shelby, I didn't know about the text being saved, I swear. I thought Dad was protecting you from something else. Protecting me, I said, by letting him use my identity, by accepting gifts bought with debt in my name. Connor looked down. I should have stopped it. I was scared too. Scared he'd turn on me next. The room was fracturing faster now. People standing, gathering coats, whispering urgently. Aunt Linda walked over to me and squeezed my shoulder. I'm so sorry, Shelby. We should have seen it sooner. Uncle Mark shook his head at Dad. This is beyond words, Brian. Dad backed toward the door. This isn't fair. I raised her. I changed diapers. You raised a reminder of your wife's mistake, I said. So you made sure I paid for it. Financially, emotionally, publicly. He reached for the doorknob. Shelby, I never wanted... You wanted control? I said. And now you've lost it. He opened the door. Stepped out. The screen door slammed behind him. We heard his car start. Tires on gravel. Engine fading down the driveway. Silence again. Mom sat alone at the table, head in her hands. Connor stayed standing, looking lost. Grandma walked over to me. She placed a hand on my arm. Firm. Steady. You're still my granddaughter, she said quietly. Blood or no blood, that doesn't change a damn thing. I felt something loosen in my chest. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But recognition. The room began to empty slowly. Cousins hugging me on their way out. Aunts murmuring apologies. Uncles shaking their heads at the empty doorway. One by one, they left. Connor approached last. He stopped a few feet away. Shelby, I'm sorry. For all of it. For not seeing. For not stopping. I looked at him. I know you are. He waited. But sorry doesn't erase 28 years. I said. It doesn't fix the debt, the lies, the way you stayed silent. He nodded. I understand if you don't want to talk to me. I don't know what I want yet, I said. But right now I need space. He swallowed. Okay. He left without another word. Mom stood up. She walked toward me, arms half raised like she wanted to hug me. I stepped back. Don't, I said. She stopped, tears streaming. Shelby, I love you. You love the version you created, I said. The one who was easy to blame. I don't want that love anymore. She covered her face. Grandma stepped between us. Diane, go home. Let her breathe. Mom looked at her mother, then at me. Then she walked out. The house was quiet now. Only Grandma and me. She closed the front door. Come sit, she said. We sat on the porch swing. The sun was low, casting long shadows across the lawn. She didn't speak for a long time. Finally, she said, I changed my will last night, after I saw the text on everyone's phone. I looked at her. Your share is now 30%, she said. Brian's is 5, just enough so he can't contest it legally. Connor stays the same. The rest is divided among the grandchildren who actually show up. I exhaled. Grandma, you didn't have to. I did, she said. Because justice isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. Permanent. She squeezed my hand. You're not alone, Shelby. Not anymore. Not. I leaned my head on her shoulder. For the first time in years, my hands weren't shaking. The next morning, Grandma Gloria texted me at 7:15. Come to the study when you wake up. Alone. I was already up sitting on the porch with coffee watching the sun rise over the hills. The house was quiet, empty now except for us. Everyone had left the night before in a haze of hugs, apologies, and stunned silence. I hadn't slept much, just stared at the ceiling, replaying the day. I walked inside. Grandma was at her oak desk in the back room, papers spread out, a man in a gray suit standing beside her. I recognized him from Grandpa's funeral years ago, Thomas Brooks, the family estate attorney. Sit down, Shelby, Grandma said. I took the chair across from her. My heart beat faster than it should have. Thomas cleared his throat. Mrs. Pierce asked me to come early this morning. We finalized changes to her will at 4 a.m. Grandma slid a document toward me. Thick, legal-looking signatures fresh. I didn't block your father last night, she said. Blocking is temporary. What I did is permanent. I scanned the page. Legal language swam at first, then sharpened. Brian's share reduced from 35% to 5%, just enough to prevent a successful contest on grounds of disinheritance. My share increased from 10% to 30%. Connor's remained unchanged. The rest redistributed among the grandchildren who had shown consistent respect and presence over the years. I looked up. Grandma, this is too much. It's exactly enough, she said. I started suspecting years ago, the way Brian treated you, the excuses, the favoritism so blatant it made me uncomfortable. When your grandfather was alive, we set up those trusts because we worried about how Brian would handle money. We never imagined he'd misuse yours. She paused. I offered to help with your loans after graduation. Brian told me you refused, said you wanted to prove yourself. Another lie. I swallowed. I never knew about the offer. I know, she said softly. That's why you deserve this. Not as punishment, as justice. Thomas spoke up. The changes are irrevocable. Mrs. Pierce has full capacity. No challenge will hold. Grandma reached into a drawer and pulled out an envelope. My name in her careful handwriting. This is the graduation gift I tried to give you 6 years ago. Brian intercepted it. Told me you didn't want it. I opened it. Inside a check for $60,000 dated 2019, and a handwritten note. To my granddaughter Shelby, you've always been the quiet strength in this family. Don't let anyone dim that. Love, Grandma Gloria. Tears came then. Quiet ones. I didn't wipe them away. Grandma stood and walked to the window, looked out at the property acres of land that had been in her family for generations. I won't make the mistake of believing lies again, she said. Brian made his choices. Now I've made mine. My phone buzzed. Notifications from the family group chat. One by one, people were leaving. Blocked Brian. Unfollowed. No more contact. 49 blocks by noon. Connor texted me separately. Shelby, I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I need you to know I'm cutting him off too. I can't look at him the same. I'm sorry for everything. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back. I appreciate that, but I need time. A lot of time. I hit send. He replied immediately. I understand. Take all the time you need. I blocked his number. Not out of anger. Out of necessity. Mom called twice that afternoon. Voicemails I didn't listen to. Texts I deleted without reading. Grandma watched me from the doorway. You don't owe them anything, she said. I know. That evening, Aunt Linda called. She'd become the unofficial update line. Your father moved out last night, she said. He's staying at a motel in Sacramento. Mom filed for divorce this morning. Papers are already drafted. I exhaled. How is she? Quiet, broken, but she's not defending him anymore. And Dad? Angry, threatening to contest the will. Thomas already sent him the notification. He called Grandma screaming. She hung up after one sentence. You made your choices for 28 years. I've made mine. I almost smiled. The family fallout spread fast. Cousins posted vague stories about family secrets and truth coming out. Uncles texted apologies. Aunts offered to help with anything I needed. By the end of the week, the group chat was down to 30 people. The rest had left or blocked everyone involved. Dad tried calling me once, from an unknown number. I didn't pick up. He left a voicemail. Shelby, I never meant to hurt you like this. I was protecting the family. Please call me back. We can fix this. I deleted it. Grandma drove me back to Sacramento the next day. She insisted on helping me pack a few things from the house, things I'd left there over the years. Photos, books, a quilt she'd made when I was little. In the car, she said, You're not losing family, Shelby. You're gaining clarity. I nodded. When we pulled up to my apartment, Jordan was waiting outside with takeout and a key he had copied weeks ago. He hugged me without a word. Grandma watched us. Then she hugged me too. Call me Wednesday nights, she said. No excuses. I will. She drove away. Jordan and I went inside, ate dinner on the couch. No TV, just quiet. He asked, How do you feel? Free, I said, and tired. He pulled me close. You've earned both. That night, I slept better than I had in years. No dreams of bills or frames or texts, just peaceful rest. Months later, things settled into a new normal. Jordan and I moved into a bigger place in Midtown Sacramento, 2 bedrooms, a real kitchen, windows that let in morning light. We signed the lease together. No co-signers, no family help. Just us picking out furniture on weekends, arguing over couch colors, laughing when we realized we both hated the same shade of gray. My credit score climbed back to 745. The unauthorized accounts were fully removed after months of letters, calls, and a small settlement from the credit bureaus. My student loans dropped to $22,000. I made a large payment with part of Grandma's gift. Not to erase everything, but to prove I could handle it on my terms. Jordan proposed on a quiet Thursday evening. No grand gesture. Just dinner on our balcony, a simple ring, and the question asked while the city lights flickered below. I said yes, without hesitation. Grandma calls every Wednesday night like clockwork. We talk about the garden she's planting, the books she's reading, the way the oak trees are doing. She never asks about Dad or Mom. She doesn't need to. She knows I've drawn the line. The letter from Ralph Grant arrived in a plain envelope postmarked from Portland, Oregon. Inside, a single page. Dear Shelby, I took a DNA test through one of the services after hearing about the family situation through distant relatives. The results show we share a biological connection. I'm not reaching out to disrupt your life or claim a role I haven't earned. I just wanted you to know I exist. If you ever want to talk now, or years from now, I'm here. No pressure. Ralph Grant. Phone number. I read it 3 times before showing Jordan. He held my hand while I stared at the paper. What are you thinking? He asked. I don't know, I said. I've had one father for 28 years, the man who raised me, the one who lied. Now there's this stranger who might be kind. I need time to decide if I want to know him. Jordan nodded. You get to choose. No rush. I wrote back a short email. Dear Ralph, thank you for reaching out respectfully. I'm not ready to meet or talk yet. I appreciate you giving me space. I'll contact you if and when I'm ready. Shelby. I hit send and closed the laptop. No contact with Dad has been absolute. He tried a few more times. Different numbers, emails from work accounts, even a letter to my office. I returned everything unopened. The last voicemail was a year ago. I deleted it without listening. Aunt Linda keeps me updated occasionally. Dad's reputation in the family is gone. Cousins who once called him for advice now avoid him. His real estate business took a hit. Clients heard whispers, referrals dried up. The IRS sent him a notice last fall about discrepancies in old returns. Nothing criminal yet, but an audit is pending. He sold the big house in Elk Grove to cover costs. Lives in a condo now. Mom moved to a small apartment near the river. She texts sometimes short messages about weather or holidays. I don't reply. Boundaries aren't cruel, they're survival. Connor reached out twice more after the reunion. Once to apologize again. Once to say he was going to therapy. I read the messages but didn't respond. Forgiveness isn't owed, it's earned over time. He hasn't earned it yet. Jordan and I have Sunday dinners with Grandma now. She drives down from Folsom. We cook simple things, roast chicken salad, whatever's in season. She tells stories about Grandpa, about the farm when it was bigger. I tell her about work, about Jordan's latest project. No drama, no scorekeeping, just people who choose to be there. One evening, she looked at me across the table and said, "You know what the real cost was? Not the money, the years you spent doubting your worth because of someone else's guilt." I nodded. I stopped doubting a while ago. She smiled. Good. Keep it that way. If there's one thing I want anyone watching this to take away, it's this. You are not the disappointment someone else labeled you. You are not the burden, the failure, the problem child. Those words were never about you. They were about the person saying them, their guilt, their fear, their inability to face their own choices. The moment you stop trying to earn love from people who only give it conditionally, that's when you start living for real. Boundaries aren't rejection, they're protection. They're the difference between surviving and thriving. Your worth isn't measured by a bill, a bank account, or a blood test. It's measured by how you treat yourself when no one's watching, by the quiet choices you make every day to protect your peace. If this story hit close to home, if you've ever felt like the family scapegoat, the one who never quite fit, know that you're not alone. And you don't have to stay in that role. You can walk away. You can rebuild. You can choose people who see you clearly and love you without scorecards. Thank you for staying with me through this entire story. Thank you for listening, for sharing your own experiences in the comments, for being part of this space. It means more than you know. If this resonated with you, please drop a like, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next ones. Share this video with anyone who might need to hear it, someone who's still carrying a weight that isn't theirs. Comment below. What boundaries have you set that changed your life? Or, what would you say to your younger self after hearing this? Wishing you all health, strength, and the courage to choose yourself every single day. You deserve that. Always. I'm Shelby Walsh, and my bill is paid in full. See you in the next one.